Hello, welcome back to the ABA for Real channel. So Benji and I were having a conversation, and he told me that he prefers the couch over the bed to do our recording. So we are here, and the reason that I like to do it in one of those settings is to keep it casual. This is ABA for real, and I want it to feel like a conversation that you would have without your boss present, without the pressure of your coworkers or the people you work with, just sitting on the couch, getting home after a day's work and venting and talking for real. So that's why we're here. Ready, Benj? Okay, so today's episode is we're talking about what is an RBT? How do you become an RBT? And I love this topic because I value this field so much. And one giant reason why is because it's very ethical. RBT is a acronym, a term that's just thrown around. I mean, I've walked into so many schools where they're like, oh, this person's RBT. You leaving already? Okay, bye. Their RBT just does this or that. And then I find out, just depending on the situation, it's really not an RBT, for example. It's just like a respite care provider, which are wonderful, but they have different job responsibilities, right? Or I'll hear someone be like, yeah, I'm an RBT, but they don't get supervised. And I'm like, hold on. There is no way you can legally, ethically practice as an RBT if you do not have a behavior analyst as an overhead providing a minimum of 5% supervision to you for your total hours per month, okay? So there's lots and lots of little things that make the RBT position so valuable, so different, and something to be proud of if you are in the field of ABA. So let me break it down to you. First of all, to become an RBT, technically at this time, you only need a high school diploma. So graduate from high school, you can go start to be an RBT if you'd like. Then what you need to do is take a 40-hour course. You can find them online. Just type in 40-hour RBT training. A lot of them you have to pay for. It's a good chunk, but I mean, this is a career that if you want to invest in, you're going to make good money. So we want to get good quality people, you pay a little bit. Sometimes there are companies that will offer to pay for your RBT training course. So that's kind of cool too. I always suggest that because that way, if you're with a company, then you're guaranteed a behavior analyst to do the next part. So the next part, you pass your you do your 40-hour training, you pass a little test at the end of it, right? Then within a period of time, 90 days, all this information, by the way, is on the BACB website, Behavior Analyst Certification Board. So you have your high school diploma, you take your 40-hour training, then you find a behavior analyst and you say, hey, I did my 40-hour course. Can you do my initial competency assessment? And what that requires is a board certified, sorry for the noise, behavior analyst to watch you perform the tasks that are on the task list, that are on the initial competency assessment. These are things that a person was expected to learn in the 40-hour training. And within the competency assessment, a client should be present. It's not necessarily like the client they're going to work with. It could be their own child. It could be somebody like a kid at the park. I mean, you have to have permission to implement things, but there's just simple things like positive reinforcement and shaping procedures, different things like that, where you should probably know the kid, but they're little simple things. And even, there could be interviews to where your behavior analyst is like, hey, just tell me about that. Some things have to be demonstrated. Some things are in conversation. So once you pass all of those tasks, you get initials on those, you pass the third step. The next step is you submit all of your documentation to the Behavior Analyst Certification Board. You create an account. You apply for the exam. You send in all your stuff. You pay for the exam. Then they set you up with, usually it's Pearson, but it could be another, big time company where you have to go to a facility and actually take a online exam. And it's usually like at least 75 questions, maybe 100, something like that. But it's a good chunk. You need to know your stuff. This is a really important field. We work with a delicate population. You make good money. You're expected, you have a lot of responsibilities when you're an RBT and you're running sessions. So we want good quality people. So there's all these steps, these 4 big things: high school diploma, 40-hour test, competency assessment, examination. Once you pass those things, you are ready to practice as an RBT. The next step is finding a board certified behavior analyst, which there's a bunch of companies out there. You're going to interview, you're going to find your BCBA, you're going to hop on a case with them, and then you're going to implement ABA therapy. And just make sure, because it is technically the RBT's responsibility to make sure that they're getting supervision, okay? Love you RBTs. You guys a lot of the time know your stuff, but at the end of the day, the behavior analyst knows more of the ins and outs, the intricacies. There's no problem with collaborating, working together with somebody who has a lot of experience and has some suggestions. But at the end of the day, the board certified behavior analyst's name is on that behavior plan, is responsible for the implementation of the plan, everything that involves the plan, of course the company as well. And RBTs are required to get that minimum 5% supervision every month. So if you're an RBT watching, please, please, please talk to your analyst about that. If you're a parent watching, keep an eye on your RBTs. Make sure that behavior analyst is coming. They should be watching that RBT, working with your child for usually at least an hour. It's usually an hour per session, 1, 2, 3, 4 times a month, depending on how many hours an individual receives of ABA therapy. Okay, so that's that. Right, Benji? Until then, keep it real.